Hello, welcome back. Happy New Year. Welcome back to another episode of the Soul Mood Podcast. I'm your host, Natalie, and I'm so excited to be able to share with you that this podcast is now officially on iTunes. I've invested in a new microphone. I'm recording this on Zoom. So I've got a video to go alongside this as well. I'm really excited. I'm really excited about what is to come in 2021. And what I really wanted this initial first podcast of 2021 to be all around is forgetting or at least putting on hold things that we were experiencing in 2020 and really focusing forward. Yesterday, I set my intentions for the new year. I've just got so much that I'm looking forward to, and I hope that you all feel the same. I hope that you're feeling hopeful. Today I actually wanted to share with you a story around karma. Really interesting. It's actually about my mum, and I'm just going to share this story because yesterday I was talking to my friend about it and I thought this is really worth sharing, because I seriously believe that we don't truly understand how powerful our words and our thoughts and our intentions actually are. So on New Year's Eve, my mum actually called me because her cat, who is now like 20 years old, she's super old, she's a pensioner as far as cats go. She's so poorly, like she can barely jump. She actually has a little step that she has to get on to be able to get onto a sofa. She's really kind of coming to the end of her days, and she was being sick and she wasn't very well, and my mum needed to take her to the vets. And she was already having a bad day that day. She'd woken up, she felt really sick, as in like she had a bit of a cold coming on. She'd fallen over the Hoover. Like, I don't know how you managed to do that. She went flying over the Hoover. So it was one of those days for her where everything seemed to be going wrong. And then she was getting stressed because obviously she thought she was going to have to put the cat down. And it was all just not very nice. So anyway, she didn't have a car to go and take the cat to the vets, and my sister still lives at home and she wasn't there to be able to take her. So I said, look, I'm going to take you to the vets. Like, don't worry about it, we'll go and take the cat and we'll just see what they say. So anyway, it was really interesting because when we were sat outside waiting for them to come out and tell us what was wrong with the cat, if they could find out what was wrong with her. She was in a bit of pain, she wasn't going to the toilet, she kept getting sick, and my mum was kind of sat in the car before she went in there saying, I hope this isn't the last time that I'm going to be able to see you, because you can't actually go into the vets at the moment with your pets. And I know she was like, wasn't really thinking straight, and she was really feeling a little bit kind of stressed about it. So anyway, when the cat was in there, my mum was saying, I wonder what this is going to cost me, and she was saying things like, oh, all that overtime that I've worked, just typical, isn't it? I've worked all that overtime now, and I bet that that's what it's all going to go on now. It's all going to be going on this vet bill. Like, how much is it going to cost me? How much is it going to cost me? And I was just observing at the time. There was no judgment. I wasn't kind of going to say to her anything like, really, is this what you're focusing on now? But it's really interesting because I feel like that's kind of where our focus goes whenever anything happens. Like if you got pregnant, for example, the first thought isn't kind of like, I'm over, necessarily, not, it might be, but for most, it's not instantly, oh, amazing, I'm pregnant. Or you might have that, but then you go into, how are we going to afford this? What are we going to do? How am I going to, and you go into that stress of finances. So I totally could understand where she was coming from, but I was just observing the words that she was using. And she kept saying it over and over again. Oh, what is this going to cost me? Oh, it's just typical. It was really in this like lack mentality. Well, as luck would have it, the cat didn't get put down. She is very, very old. And basically the vet just bought her a bit of time and said, take her home, because he knew it was New Year's Eve as well, and everything that was happening in 2020, you know, we've given her some pain relief, take her home, here's a laxative, tell her go to the toilet, and you know, TMI, but it's a cat. And then they said, we'll make an appointment for Saturday, and if she isn't better by Saturday, then bring her back in, and then we'll talk about it from there. Because, you know, do you really want to put her through all the tests that she would have to go through at her age? She's a pensioner, which is what they said, which was kind of nice, really. You know, he was an amazing vet, and it bought my mum a little bit more time as well. So anyway, I took my mum home, and then she went and bought a bottle of wine, and she had a few drinks, and she was obviously still in that state of kind of like lack and stress and things like that. And I had this thought where I was like, I feel like something's gonna happen. Like, she just created this like vortex of what was something going to cost her, if this makes sense, and you see where I'm going with it in a moment. Anyway, what ended up happening was she had cooked dinner for her friend, because her friend's mother is not very well at the moment. She tested positive for COVID-19, and so she'd made her some dinner, and she had said to her friend, I'll be about 10-15 minutes, and was walking down the road and decided to pick up the pace, decided to start running down the road, fell over, basically broke her little finger, hit her head on the floor, and then rung us up to kind of say like, oh, you know, I've like, you know, really damaged my hand. And it was really damaged. Like, it was so, it's definitely broken, like what she'd done to her finger. And it was just really interesting that I kind of had this feeling like something is you're going to manifest that. You're going to manifest this, this I don't know what the word is I'm trying to think of, but it was going to cost her something that day. And then the really interesting thing was, where she'd broken her hand, she couldn't do anything. So she couldn't give the cat the medication. She couldn't actually physically undo the lid on the medication to be able to give it to the cat. And I know this is like a really silly story and a silly analogy, but what it really showed to me was how we have to be so careful of the words that we are speaking and what we're actually bringing into our life. She was thinking in such a place of lack. The benefit that come from it, the good that come from it, is that it forced her to stay at home with the cat. Like, it put her into this headspace where she'd gone from thinking, I need to put the cat down, to, I don't think I am going to take her to the appointment on Saturday. Like, luckily she kind of went to the toilet the next day, and, you know, she still wasn't 100%, but I think that kind of shock to my mum's system made her think, I'm not going to worry, I'm not going to fret too much about vet bills and stuff like that. And I know, as I say, this is a really silly story, it's a silly analogy, but it's important to remind yourself, and it's important to understand and to know that whatever you are speaking, whatever words that you are using, are powerful. And rather than focusing on what something is going to cost you, rather than focusing on the things that are outside of your control, if you purely just focused on the things that you were grateful for, if she would have been in that headspace of, I'm so grateful that I get to, you know, that someone's able to take me to the vets. I'm so grateful that, you know, this vet is so kind, and it is allowing me to still kind of take her home, and I'm so grateful that she hasn't been put down today, you know, all those things. It's just such a different headspace to be in, because what does it matter at the end of the day? You know, you can always make more money, you can't necessarily make more time and have more memory. So again, I know this is like a really silly analogy to use, but I hope that it triggers something in you that makes you realize and understand to a degree how right now what we are saying is manifesting faster than I've ever experienced before myself. And I've actually got a really good tip that I'm just going to leave you with. I was working overtime yesterday, and I could feel myself getting frustrated with some of the people that I was speaking to on the phone. And I started singing this song to myself. And every time I was about to say something judgmental in this song, so again, really silly thing, but I was basically singing about, I was going to say, I really, I don't even want to say it now because I'm just really aware of what I'm speaking about. But I was going to say, oh, I really don't like people, was what I was singing in this silly little jingle that I was doing. But every time I found myself going to say something judgmental or nasty, I was changing it. So I ended up singing like about how much I love people, and how much I think that they're great, and how much I think that they believe that they're great, how much I hope that they love themselves. Every time I found myself about to say something that wasn't nice or was judgmental, I was changing it to the complete opposite. And it totally changed my mood. And I ended up having a really good shift because I was no longer focusing on something negative. I was focusing on something positive as well. So you could literally take that and apply that to your own life. And next time you find yourself thinking something like, oh, well, what's that going to cost me? Or, oh, why did that person have to do that? If you just switch it to a place of compassion, even if you just try doing it for fun, just trying to switch that word from hate to love, from fear to love, from, you know, dislike to like, whatever it is, just in that moment, just switch it. I promise you, you'll be so blown away by the difference that it actually makes you, even just in that moment, of how much better you feel. So anyway, Happy New Year. I hope that you are as hopeful and optimistic as I am for 2021. So much exciting stuff coming. And yeah, I will speak to you all soon.